Good morning and happy August. My name is Kim, also known as Yarning for a Smile, and welcome to Yarniesville. This is my blog type journal of my knitting and crochet and other crafts. I just want to say thank you for checking out this video. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I know there's been a little bit of a pause. Summer happened and just got a little busy, and honestly there was not that much knitting time, which is really sad. But fall is here. Well, not really. We have like 50 something days. But in my mind, when I see August and I see back to school stuff, that means fall is here. Because usually all of the stores start getting out their fall and Halloween things, and all of those emotions regarding those holidays and seasons just start bubbling up inside, and I just become completely blindsided to all things fall, pumpkins, those jewel tones of the leaves, and obsessed with all the smells. So I'm very excited that fall is here. I am not a summer person, so I'm very excited to see it go bye-bye. If you are new to my channel, thank you for checking me out. I am a knitter and crocheter, a homeschool mom, I'm a caretaker, and I just really love to create something every single day. And I still try to knit every day. I just didn't really get to knit for these long periods of time and get stuff as completed as I wanted to, which is fine. Life happens, we all know that. But I just want to say thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you so much for checking out my little slice of YouTube that I have called Yarniesville. So this is going to be like a video vlog slash review slash, I don't know, way to share inspiration, creativity, and current projects with you guys. I actually have a blog on Blogger that I've had since I first started my knitting and crochet journey, but no one really looks at Blogger, and it takes a lot of time to type out everything, so it's just kind of been stagnant for years. And there's probably, if you check it out, going to be some links on there that are no longer working to previous YouTube videos, which all stems back to that whole thing back in May when YouTube took down my channel, and I have yet to get it back. If you're interested in learning about that, there's a video kind of towards the beginning of this channel that goes over that, so I'm not really going to go over it because it's just like salt in the wound whenever I think about it. So horrible. But thank you so much for checking out this channel. I hope you check out some more of my videos. I've done some reviews on some products from Jimmy Beans and Della Q. I have some Ravelry how-tos and just some other bits and bobs thrown in. And I just hope you please ignore the dog. There's probably going to be more of that. But I really hope you enjoy your time here in Yarniesville. As our community grows, more options are going to open up to us via YouTube. That's just the way their setup happens. And I would love to be able to have that community tab for us to have conversations in and stuff, besides just leaving a comment under these videos, because I want to learn about you guys. I want to learn about what your passions are and what inspires you and what kind of things you like working on. And I can't learn that unless you tell me. So tell me in the comments what you're working on, and I am going to show you what I am working on right now. Not a lot is working on right now, but there are some things. So the first thing is, I'll go over my completed objects in a little bit, but I recently completed an object. There was only one thing that I completed this month, and I think there's only one thing I completed last month. Yeah, it happens. But I did pick up a whip that I started when Russia invaded Ukraine. I purchased a pattern from a Ukrainian designer, and it's a crocheted stuffy. And because of the magic of the internet and YouTube, I'm going to insert a photo right here. So this pattern is called Friendly Annie the Deer by Oaklea. I'm really bad at saying names. I'll link it in the show notes below. Yeah. So this is, last time I took a picture on my Ravelry notes, I think I was right about here. But I did complete the body. And it takes a while because I am using, for my body, I'm using this yarn, which is kind of fluffy, and I'm actually considering, getting a brush and brushing just this portion of the body so it's a little bit furrier, I guess you can say. But this yarn does have a little bit of a halo, which you can see there. But I want it to be more halo-y, like hair. And this is Yarn Bee 44th Street Camel is the colorway. And it's a 70% acrylic and 30% polyamide, and it's a DK weight yarn. There, and there's the washing instructions. I've seen this in some other groups, so I'm going to address this. If you don't know, I have a knitting and crochet group on Facebook. If you look up Yarning for Small on Facebook, you'll see my page, and then there should be a button up under the big banner that says join the group, which is called Knit and Crochet. And I'm also a moderator of Knit Chat. But I have seen in groups people complaining about yarn labels no longer having washing instructions. And that's not necessarily true. These little things here are your washing instructions. So like in my group, my personal group, Knit and Crochet, I actually created a post that has all these common labels, and it also has what they mean. Because this is your washing instructions. So this one, like, do not iron. So like in my personal group, it's kind of like a learning group, I guess you can say. People do post what they make, but most of the time I'm just posting things, knowledge, and pattern links. And I have it set up with a section for guides. And so one of the guides is techniques, and it talks about knitting in a different gauge, jogless knitting, how to pull from the outside or inside, how to cable without a cable needle, talking about picking out contrast colors and yarns. And then I have a guide 2, which is all about the yarn. So it talks about how to read your yarn label, how to read the wash symbols. There's an article about what is blooming when it's referred to as yarn. There's an article about different sheep and where the yarn comes from. There's an article about microns. So I try to make my group really a way to learn about the craft and not just share your craft. Although I do want you to share photos of what you're knitting and crochet in my group, please. Because I want to see them. I want to be inspired by you. So I'm going to put a link to my group also in the description of this video. We can kind of touch on these washing symbols. So the first one is like a little bucket with a 30C beside it. That means machine wash normal. Then you have a square with a dash. I don't know if you can see that there. That means to dry flat, not to put in the dryer. And then we have an iron with a X, which obviously means do not iron. We have a triangle with an X, which means do not bleach. And we have the letter A with a circle, which means dry clean any kind of solvent if you choose to dry clean. So that's these little symbols are important to know. And you don't have to memorize them because I'm not going to memorize them. But I am going to pull up the link that I have put in my group. So that way I'll know. But that's just a little tidbit on that. So if you don't think there's washing labels on your tag, there more than likely maybe. But this is the yarn I'm using. This yarn is super soft. To be an acrylic yarn, it does kind of have, it has a plasticky feel, don't get me wrong. But it does have this really soft, almost like alpaca-y feel, which it doesn't have any alpaca in it. But that's why I'm thinking I may kind of brush him up to give him more of a fur on his body. So also I'm using some of this, is this Capri by Fezza, and it is a sport weight. It has been discontinued, and I did purchase this from my local yarn store before they shut down. And there's actually a video that I've made on this channel about my old local yarn store that I, encourage you to check it out and see how cool it was, because it was this little building. It looked like a hole in the wall, but you just kept going and there were rooms and rooms and so much yarn. And it just had a great group of us ladies who met there all the time, and we knit together, and I just truly miss it. Like it's truly a sad thing when I think about it. And I think about that store and those ladies all the time. And I still see some of them and still in contact with some of them, but it's just not the same, you know? But this yarn is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. It's kind of nice, but I'm using this for the boots of my little person, Dear Doll. And I'm also going to be using it for the hat, the top part of the hat, and the ears. And for its face and body features, I'm using the white version of the yarn. Just kind of like an off-white. It's not like a pure white, so I think it works well. And you can see I've kind of started on that. So turn around this way. That's what I got thus far. And then I have got some just black thrown in here because I'm going to just sew in on the eyes like the designer did. And then I'll also use this white for its, what is that thing called? Collar or lapel. I don't remember the word exactly. And then, so she actually used some of the same dark, this color to go up here on top of the boot. I may do that, or I may find a little bit something darker. I don't know. But I'm trying to figure out how I want to accent my little deer a little bit more. I think it's going to be adorable when it gets done. And I love making stuffy. So I worked on a lot of it Saturday. So pretty much from here to here was all done Saturday, as well as this portion of the head. But it is taking a while because I'm doing it on a B hook. B, 2.25. So as far as a knitting needle, that would be like a size 1. And that is a itty bitty little hook. But these are my favorite hooks. These are the Clover Armoires, and they have like the rubber grippy. To me, there's no substitution when it comes to hooks. These things are super light. They're super grippy. They're comfortable in my hand, and I have big hands. I'm like almost 6 feet tall. So if this thing fits comfortably in my hand, and it's not too small, then if someone with smaller hands, it's even going to be better. But they're so lightweight, so lightweight. And I do have a blog post. I'm going to link it in the show notes as well, because it goes over my review of crochet hooks. And I tried a lot of crochet hooks to the point where I actually weighed them and tested them with different stitches. And, you want to check it out. So that is one of my works in progress. And that is living in my Knit Girls bag with Twist Fiber Studio. They had a collaboration in a kit a couple of years ago. So that's where that is staying. Okay, so my next whip is literally just started on. So I have mentioned before, I'm doing the Desert Vista Dye Works Sock of the Month Club. It's kind of like the name of the knit along. It's a year-long knit along, and basically you have to use a skein of her yarn each month and make either a pair of socks, fingerless mitts, or hat. And you have to use over 50% of the skein of yarn to be eligible. If you do this every month, then in the year you have access to an exclusive colorway that she only does for the people who actually completed this knit along, which is super cool with her. During this thing, she gives away prizes, and actually I've won 2 skeins of yarn. Phenomenal. So I think those are actually shipping out to me this month, which is really exciting. I chose a couple of older colorways, so I'm excited to share those with you guys. I just think they're pretty. For this month, I'm going to be making a pair of fingerless mitts. And so here's my problem with this knit along. Number one, I have big feet, y'all. So knitting socks is kind of a super downer for me. It takes forever, and it's depressing because they just keep going and going and going and going. Number two, her yarns are like phenomenally dyed, and like the thought of putting them on my feet under jeans and pants and shoes that you can't see kind of breaks the heart. So I did buy the clear, translucent Crocs. I'll post a picture here of me wearing them and wearing a pair of socks that my friend Deborah knit that just so happened to be too big for her, but fit me perfectly. Thanks, Deborah. But yeah, it's hard for me to like put stuff that's cool on my feet. So I'm not making socks again this month. I'm making some fingerless mitts. And the reason is because typically in the fall, we have our air conditioner on constantly, and I'm not cold enough to wear like a sweatshirt or a sweater, but I have like a chill. And because I have these lovely, I don't know if you can see. Oh, that's right there. These lovely plates and pins in my arm from my car right there. So my other scar, I have a plate in each arm and a bone in each arm. You're supposed to have 2 bones, I only have 1. And then I have like so many pins in each arm that's holding it together because I'm the bionic woman. I get cold. And when I get cold and my arms get cold, my wrists and my arms start cramping. So fingerless mitts are something that I wear a lot of. And I do break them out in the summer as well when days it's just so hot and we have the air conditioner cranked up. Today, it's just so humid. I know my windows are like kind of blasted out by the light, but we had rain this morning and like the whole bottom half of the windows you can barely see out of because of the condensation. Because it's like a sauna when you step out the door. It's super ooh factor. So that's why I'm making mitts this month. And so this month I chose a pattern by Helen Stewart, which is Curious Handmade, and they're called Heathen mitts. Hold up, they're not called heathen mitts. This is me in the future editing this video, and they're called Hearten mitts and not heathen mitts. Although it kind of works because I'll be schooling my little heathens, but really, the pattern's called Hearten mitts. Now back to the show. I printed off a copy of the pattern and didn't print it off in color, so it's kind of hard to see. So I'll insert a photo here again. So these are really pretty and they work well with striped yarn, which is in my case what I'm using because I'm using Desert Vista Dye Works and she specializes in striped yarn. And I mean specializes in rules the roost kind of thing. So this yarn that I am using, and this is her label, is actually Vigio base and it's supposed to be 75, notice I said supposed to be, 75% superwash merino, 25% non-fingering weight, approximately 462 yards on 100 grams. And this colorway is called School is in Session because, again, homeschool family, and it is August and we start back on the 15th. So I'm like, this is what's going to happen this month. Now let's talk about the issue. So this yarn I did not actually order straight from Desert Vista Dye Works. I actually ordered it or bought it off of a Ravelry D-stash. And it was still in the cellophane wrapper and the sell person, and I bought it several years ago, so there's not a lot I can do about it. But the salesperson's like, yeah, I have this new yarn, and I knew when we started homeschooling when I bought it, and they're like, yeah, I really want that, so I bought it from them and they shipped it. And I did it, their freezer thing, because anything that comes in my house from somebody else's house goes in my freezer for 2 weeks, gets taken outside, shaken in the bag, put back in the freezer for another 2 weeks, goes outside, I shake it out just to make sure there's no moths or larvae getting into my stash. It's good practices to have in regards to your stash. Anywho, so this went through that whole process and made it to the stash, and then 2 days ago, when I got it out to wind it, I'm like, this kind of feels light. I don't know why. So I started winding my skein, and I wind it all from the hank to one cake, and then I take the cake and I separate it by weight. And then I rewind another piece again, so that way it starts at the same color when I want to have like them match. So I'm doing this and I'm like, something's not right, because it's telling me I have less than 50 grams left on the scale portion that I'm, cycling through, and there's only a little bit on my Swift and my winder. So I take them and I weigh them, and they're only 84 grams total. So somehow, not saying it was the person I bought it from, I probably used 15 grams and just didn't relay that information to me when she sold it to me at full price. So it's kind of disheartening, because I wanted to have some of this left over to make like a mini sock in a barn raising square, and I'm not sure I'm going to have enough to do that, because I have to use at least 50 grams for my item for it to qualify in the knit along. I'm just kind of bummed, but I definitely want to use it this month. So this is, and I'll insert a photo here. I'll have it bouncing somewhere around here as I speak. I don't know. But it has these pretty oranges and blues and reds and blacks and whites. And it's fun. I mean, it looks like the colors of a school bus, or, just some random school primary colors. So I started casting on last night. And I'm going to do these 2 at a time. And I have to cast on 50 stitches, because this pattern, she actually starts at the fingers and works the way down. Now this pattern also does not have a thumb or thumb gusset. Which, now that I'm saying this in my head, I realize I'm going to have to do the opposite direction. Because part of the knit along thing is, if you make a pair of mitts, you have to have a thumb gusset. So that means instead of starting at row 1, I'm going to have to start all the way at the very last row and then reverse engineer these things to create a thumb gusset. That's not going to be fun, but it'll be okay. I'll manage it. But so yeah, I got like 5 stitches cast on. So that's good. You should be proud of me. That took a lot right there, because I was tired. But so I'm going to be starting on those today, and now I have to go back and reevaluate my plan, because I realize I have to have a thumb gusset. But eventually, so my process is I cast these on a with magic loop, and then once I get all the stitches cast on, I switch them to, at my 2 at a time, 24-inch, 2.25, 1 Hiya sharps, because these are my happy needles. I have a lot of needles, and I have a review, just like the crochet hooks, on needles that I can post below as well. But over the years, I have learned that I like super, super sharp points. So Hiya and signature stilettos are going to be my go-tos. I like the Chai-Gu red cable for laces, for lace and shawls, because I have more bulk. But anything other than shawls, I really like the Hiya. I have Addy Clicks lace tips, but I don't love them because mine constantly click out of place. But that's another day to talk needles. So that's it. Those are my whips. Yeah, not very exciting. So now let's look at, okay, so now let's talk FOs. And there are several FOs to show you. I think the last thing I did show you in journal entry number 3 was my best egg socks and my triangle squared blanket that I finished. I can't remember if I showed you the gnome that I made that much. Okay, so truth, I kind of stopped doing the gnome cow. It's not that I didn't not want to do the gnome cow, it's just that I just haven't had that much time for knitting, and I've only kind of had time for the sock knitting cow. By the way, if you have curly haired friends, this season, we're not okay. We're not okay. So it was like crazy humidity outside. So I woke up and my hair looked like I'd stuck my hand on one of those electrical things, or just kind of around. So then I was like, okay, I'll just kind of wet it a little bit to kind of like calm it down. And then it just kind of like it was like oily, but it's not. It's just kind of, I just keep kind of wetting it, and it's just now getting frizzy again. So just know that your curly haired friends, they're not okay. They need love. But just throw that out there. And usually I have my hair pulled back constantly because of FOs. So, you know, I don't think I think I showed the last gnome, which was the one with the rabbit. Actually, I know I did. I can remember distinctly showing that in journal entry number 3. So the last gnome that I made was for the month of, was it March? May. May, not March. And that gnome, I did make no mistake. And it was part of her mystery gnome for the month, where she did a mystery cow. And it was a lot of fun. And so this is it. And I used some Leading Man Fiber Arts in King Max, which is this green color, which is absolutely gorgeous. You can see little specks of orange and yellows. And then I used Leading Man Fiber Arts Showstopper and Bit Knit Lady, which is this pinkish purple lavender color here. So I also use this dark green here on the bottom is some Malabrigo sock in the Frisco Sicko. And I also used it for the bottom of the flowers. I think this pattern really called for 3 skeins of minis, but I had a bunch of random things that I wanted to use as normal, so I did. So in his beard, the white is some old Red Heart, Heart and Soul with aloe fingering weight yarn, and the ivory. And I mean, this stuff is like some old stash. But it looked really cute mixed with this orange. So this orange is actually just random leftovers. I don't even know where it came from. And I used 4 grams of it. Its nose is some Universal Yarns. I'm in the colorway Fawn. And it was some old stuff that I found at Tuesday morning many years ago. And then I put some beads on mine. Some of these beads, again, deep bead stash. Crazy crafter. I don't even know where they came from. But they worked really well with these little seed beads. And there's like a little green seed bead there on the middle that's the same color as the King Max. And these beads, they're plastic beads, but they have little carvings on them. I thought they would kind of fit with its little mushroomy hat because it reminded me of on mushrooms, the natural little lines and veins in them. The pink on the mushroom that I used is, did I even link that? No, this is shepherd sock. So the pink actually is just the random leftovers. I'm pretty sure this color, this brownie beigey, is leftover shepherd sock that I got from Jimmy Bean sells little sample. They're like 10 grams. I used to buy them all the time when I ordered just for random projects like this. But I think it turned out super cute. The pattern is on the same on the both sides. There's some really bad wrapping of my yarn, which caused a line. I need to even those stitches out. I didn't really block this. You know, often she says to steam block. I don't steam block my stuffies. It's a fine. It's a fine. It gives it some character. I like that it kind of has this little, I tried to bend it a little bit to give it some personality. But that is my gnome for May. So also in May, I completed my Desert Vista Dye Works submission, which was a hat. And this is the Messelberg from Isolde Teague. And I don't think I showed this. I did not. This was a whip during the Journal 3. So I completed this. This is the Messelberg. And basically you start at one end and you knit, 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 to get to the other end. Then you decrease, and then you take your hat, you put it inside the other part, and you can make it however slouchy you want. So my husband actually is probably going to get this hat to wear during the winter because it'll be nice and warm on his head, and it's kind of fitted, and he likes fitted. It also fits my son very well. My youngest son, my oldest son has a ginormous head, so he's not going to wear it. But my youngest son liked it. He's the one modeling it for me in the photos. But this colorway is from Desert Vista Dye Works, and it is called Augustus. But it's got this navy blue, and you can see right here these little blurps of bright blue with some really pretty grays and a very even toned yellow, and then a white. And some of the dark blues get so dark they look black, but it's actually a navy. But it's just a really pretty colorway. I mean, it kind of has a nautical vibe to it, but I just thought it looked really good in this hat, and I was right. So this thing I knit on, I really like knitting hats on a really tight gauge. I used the US 2 on this hat, and I almost used all of my yarn. I don't have my leftovers with me of this colorway, but I hope I have enough to make my square, barn raising square, and my little sock from it. But you just start knitting and you can actually kind of lose yourself in the knitting, and then I realized that, okay, I have to cast this off because I want yarn left over, and I actually had to rip out rows so I could have enough to make the things I wanted to make, because it just went by that fast. So this is the Messelberg, and this is by Isolde Teague. So then, after that, for the month of June, I wanted to make another sock head hat. So this is my original sock head hat, and I made this way back in 2014. So this was like one of my first, well, it was kind of my first year knitting because I started knitting in the summer of 2013, and this was in July. So I made this when I had been knitting for right about a year. And I used, so this is a Madeline Tosh yarn and Tosh Light single ply. You can see the fuzziness. I really love Tosh Light. It doesn't have that much wear to it. It's really comfortable. It does have a little bit of haloing, and there's a little bit of some peeling on top, but it's not bad. There's the top of it. So this yarn is gorgeous, and this is the F Forge colorway, and this is really washing it out. It's more of a, that's kind of about the same. It's really pretty, and this is like seriously my most worn hat besides my Midas. I just really love the gauge and the overall fit of it. But I knit this one originally on, this is what's interesting. So on this one, I looked it up at some point. I had other notes in a notebook. I need to put them in my Ravelry page. But I think I knit this one on a 3 and 4. Okay, and you see the gauge. But over the years, I've become so relaxed in my knitting that like my hats now have to be knit in a US 1 to get almost the same kind of gauge. Because that's what happens when you're knitting. Because you get more relaxed and you kind of have to tighten that gauge up because you don't feel like you're going to lose your needle, your stitches as much. So for this version of the sock head hat, I went with the colorway, the 7-year itch. So this is the yarn that actually came with this kit. So this is the yarn that came with it, and as you can see, let me slide my other screen over just a bit. It matched perfectly. But I wanted to use that yarn, and when I was knitting this, I actually had it in this bag because you gotta be matchy-matchy. But this yarn is so pretty. It reminded me of summer, and it reminded me of like beach and coral. So you get like this gray, and you get like these pretty blues and orange, and almost kind of like a darker gray where it connects. But it was just a gorgeous colorway that just screamed like summer to me. So I chose it for the summer months. And on this one, I knit the brim, the rib part, in a US 1 2.25, and then I knit the body in a 2.75. And I really like the gauge I got with it. Like, it's really comfortable, it's not too heavy, it fits perfectly, and it just looks really pretty. It's not as long as my other one, just because this one, your single ply yarn grows a lot more, and it was knit on a bigger needle, so it has a bigger gauge. But this one I like better because I kind of have a short head, so knitting anything super long just looks weird on me. My husband calls them my poopy hats. But I really like how it's turned out, and I've actually worn it the other day because I was cold. Which brings us to the month of July. So July came around, and honestly, I had no idea what I wanted to knit. But I knew I had to get something done to stay in this knit along. And so I had some of the Desert Vista Dye Works, and this is the Zombody lavender decomp, and I used the green lavender decomp a while back and made the mitts. They had like a lot of black in them, and it's a gorgeous colorway. I really love her kind of like speckledy colorway. She does this amazing job with them, and they don't get as much recognition as her stripes colorways, but they're stunning. So this, I wanted to make another kind of slat head hat, but I wanted to do something a little bit different with a garter brim. So I did garter for a couple inches, and then I just knit the sock hat regular. And I used the same cast on number and the same amount of stitches. So both of these, because I knit them as such a smaller gauge than what the original pattern calls for, that's why I had to go down in needle. But because I went down in needle to get a smaller gauge, I also had to go up in size so it would fit properly. So I used a size large on both of these, which usually I would knit a medium for myself. But that contrast in needle size is what helps me get the perfect gauge and size. But this is a really pretty colorway. I mean, obviously it's got these lavenders in there, and it has blacks, and it has pinks, and it has greens, and it has the slightest bit of purpley, whitish, yellowy color. But I love how this yarn did not pull at all. I mean, it's just gorgeous all the way around. And you kind of can't see it as much in the rib, but I like how the rib feels on my head. Not the rib, the garter feels on my head and over my ears. But it turned out really nice, and I'm really glad that I made it. It's really pretty. So that was my month of June. And that's the only other finished objects I have. So that's all of that, folks. Now let's move on to new purchases and acquisitions. So a while back, and I can't even tell you when this was, Madeline Tosh had put up a link for a bag yarn combo for vacation, almost like a vacation knit kit. And I'd seen it going up, and I've been trying to get one of these bags for forever. So the maker of these bags is Black Pearl Magic, and it is this heavy duty, sparkly goodness little small knitting bag. And she sells them in different sizes, but I always wanted one, so I saw this kit, and it had yarn, and it had stitch markers, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to partake. So I did, and I'm glad I did, because it's gorgeous. It is small, though. Like, it is small. So when I have my yarn in here, it's kind of hard to maneuver out of this zipper, which is kind of sad, but the zipper is oh so gorgeous because it's like a rainbow color. But I can do fingerless mitts and socks in here. But it is a little bit of a tight squeeze, but I still love the bag, and I do not regret buying it at all. In fact, this is what I had kept my lavender decomp hat in as I was knitting it, and the little skein of yarn. But also part of that was you got some stitch markers. So these are also put out by Black Pearl Magic, and this is like her little logo. She's on Instagram, and she has, I'll hold that there still, so maybe you can scan it with your phone. I don't know. I'll link it. But there is an airplane, and there's a bear, and there's a sunshine, and they're on like little earring backs. So that's the stitch markers you got. And as part of the kit, Malintosh, and look, I haven't even opened this yarn because I've honestly been saving it to share with you guys. And I bought this months ago, June the 3rd. I got this in June, y'all. I've been holding on to it to share with you people. So we're going to enjoy it together. So Malintosh had dyed some yarn to go along with this kit. Like I said, all I've seen was pictures of it. I haven't seen it up close and personal. So I'm literally opening it up right now. Not too shabby. These are the colorways that came with it. So this first one, this is their Euro sock base. And it is 435 yards of, it's 100% superwash merino. So personally, I wouldn't knit socks with these because I kind of like to have some nylon in my sock yarn for more stability. So these are probably going to be shawls or hats or mitts. I don't know, not socks though. But this colorway is called What's Up Beach. And honestly, that's the color I saw, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like the crazy happiness. Because this would make a great summer shawl with like 2 contrast colors for a 3-color shawl. To kind of help play and tone it down a little bit. So it has these blurps of speckles. So I don't know if you can see the green, and there's like a red and black speckles. It's really pretty. So that's What's Up Beach. The second one is called Road Less Traveled. So I just now caught on that there is a theme going on here. So the What's Up Beach, I'm guessing, is going to get the Sunshine stitch marker. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stick that on there. So when I use it, they will be together. And I do this a lot with the stitch markers that I get for certain things. Because you got the sun and the clouds, so it goes with the What's Up Beach theme. So the second colorway is called Road Less Traveled. And when I hear that, I think of our common vacation spot, which is the Smoky Mountains. And one of the stitch markers you get is this adorable little bear. So I am going to say that that's going to go with that one. And this is the Road Less Traveled. And it's got some browns. That's a gorgeous shade of like teal with some yellow greens. And this does remind me of the Smoky Mountains and all of the wood colors and colors of the moss on the trees and on the ground as you go up Gatlinburg. It's like our favorite place to travel. And we've been wanting to go back this fall. So if we do go back, I'm going to have to cast this on and make something as I go. Because that is really, really pretty. And I'm super in love with that blurb of teal color there. Oh, nice. So the third color and the third charm you get is that little airplane. And the third color is called Urbane. I guess like airplane. Urban. But it is a speckled with lots of pretty colors. Love there's like a rust color right about there. It's kind of blurry. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time picking it. If I turn on the other lights, it's going to be like kind of yellowy lights. I hate these yellowy lights in here. So I try to just stick to the natural light to get as close to the colorway as possible, but it's hard to zoom in on the speckles. And I'm just using the camera that's connected to my Mac. So really pretty grays. There's like this blue gray here. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, it's really gorgeous. So this is a really pretty colorway. It's a funny story. So the kit went on sale, and you can get the whole kit shebang, which came with the stitch markers and the bag and the 3 yarns, and then some patterns. I just remembered I have patterns to go with these. I need to look in my email for the download codes. There was that kit. Then there was a kit with just the yarn and the pattern without the bag or the stitch markers. And I saw this go live. Well, they put like a teaser that's going live, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get me one. And then I forgot about it. And then I saw it went live, so I tried to rush online real fast to get one, and I saw they had one left, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to get me one. And then I bought it, and it was late at night. And then the next day I'm like looking at my invoice, and I'm like, that sure is cheap to get like the bag, 3 things of yarn and stitch markers. And then I realized I'd only ordered the one with the yarn and the patterns. So I sent Malintosh an email, which I was like, they're not gonna obviously see that in time. To please cancel my order, that I apologize, that I really, just kind of buying it mainly for the bag. But, I was excited about the yarn, but that's kind of what's going to kick because I have oodles of yarn. And so they actually got the email like immediately and were like, hey, no problem, we'll handle that for you. And I'm like, sweet. So several days have passed. I think it's like a week and a half have passed. And I noticed that there's this random email from Malintosh in my inbox, which I'm like, that's odd. So I open it up, and it's like somebody on their customer service team, and she's like, hey, so one of the main kits sold, but the person canceled it, and I remembered you in their email, and you were the first person, emailed us about trying to get one of those kits, so if you want it, you can have it. And I'm like, yes, please. So I was able to get the kit, and that's how, because of this really nice customer service person who remembered me, I was able to get this kit. And so, yay. I'm really glad because I knew I wanted the bag. And I saw the yarn was kind of pretty, but I didn't see how pretty these were until I saw them in person. Like, this is fun. This is not really me well, I say this is not me, and I have on a Sesame Street t-shirt. Typically, and this is not really my colors to wear out, unless I pair it down with something to kind of tone it down, but these are me. I really like these natural earthy tones, and so I'm really, glad I was able to get this. And now it makes me think about, I really need to go locate the patterns because I forgot about them. Thanks to the YouTube community for, me doing this video and reminding myself that I get patterns. And I don't even know what the patterns are. So next time I record, I'll share with you guys what the patterns are. But the exclusivity of this kit is that the yarn can only be bought with the patterns. So I thought that was kind of cool. So unless you got like the pattern yarn kit, you just can't buy the yarn unless you find it from somebody from D-Stash. It's not going to be just a sold alone colorway. I like things like that. So in other news in my area, we actually got a Michaels, y'all. But I'm super excited that we now have a Michaels because I think a lot of people in our area were kind of steering clear of crafts or having to order online because of their belief system against Hobby Lobby. And, that's sad when you can't express yourself through creativity because of things like that. So I'm glad that Michaels is here to give another outlet to those who maybe were not wanting to shop Hobby Lobby in the past. Not to mention, Michaels in general has a really nice planner section. They do a lot of exclusivity stuff with Happy Planner, just like Joann's. There's sometimes that the planners only get marketed for Michaels and some only get marketed for Joann's, and I love Happy Planner. They also carry a good bit of notions, and my favorite thing is they carry really good knitting and crochet books. The only downside is you cannot shop on their app or their website and see the books they have in store because it's not really going to show them. You have to actually go in. So if you're wanting to buy online and pick up in store and you're looking at books, it's not really going to work. Typically also their stores carry magazines, knitting magazines, which our Hobby Lobby did not. And we don't have any other bookstore in our area that actually sold knitting and crocheting magazines beyond Walmart and the occasional one that Publix gets like every 3 months. So I think that's wonderful because I like to look at magazines and I want to look at some knitting and crochet magazines as far as getting inspiration. But our Michaels actually came out of nowhere. We were supposed to get Joann's for 3 years. Three. So Joann said they were coming, they hired people, they decided not to open. Joann said they were coming again, they hired people, and they decided not to open. Joann's again said they were coming and they hired people and decided not to open, something to do with the way the city and getting permits done. They could never come. So finally, out of nowhere, my husband sends me this thing and says, hey, did you see that Michael's is coming to Oxford? And I'm like, no. He's like, I saw a sign. And I'm like, you didn't. And then I drove by, and over by our Publix, there's this big sign that says Michael's is coming soon. And that was like in June. Well, July the 28th was their, they call it their grand opening, but it's not a grand opening. I don't know if their employees understand what a grand opening is and what a soft opening is, but their grand opening is August the 27th. And this is their soft opening. Although they're telling people, hey, this is our grand opening, but we're going to really grand open on August the 27th. Not the same thing. This is a soft opening. So basically they have a little bit of merchandise in the store and they're kind of playing it out, seeing what the customer base is going to be. So there's not one fully devoted department or aisle really for each thing, except for there's like 2 yarn aisles and there's like the notion part set out. Like that kind of stuff is kind of already in place. But as far as planners, right now there's just like an end cap, which eventually it will morph into an aisle once they get more SKUs in, as well as once they kind of see what their targeted consumer base is going to be, which is also what's happening in their yarn section, because right now the yarn section is kind of like shabby, but they still have several trucks to get in before they officially grand open, and they're still kind of figuring out their customer base, which stinks because many consumers are going in there and without knowledge of how retail works, and they're seeing this sign on the door that says grand opening, and they're walking in and seeing like not really full shelves and not a lot of options, and they're like, I'm not coming back. And I know this because I've had people tell me inside the store, this is my first time coming to Michael's, is this what they have to offer? And I'm like, no, they're really opening on the 27th. In August, come back, they'll have more stuff. So it stinks. I hope that they do better as far as relaying this information to their consumers, so consumers will continue to come and we have them stay around in our area because we need them. But I went in, and I was their first customer because why not? So I stood out there with my knitted socks on and my translucent Crocs knitting on my lavender decomp hat, actually, and they came out and made me take a picture, which I really don't even want to see that picture. I don't even know where it went. I was not expecting having my picture made. It was super humid. It's fine. It's fine. But I did pick up a book, and I picked up a few things of yarn, just some cotton and a couple of stitch markers. And when they grand opening, apparently they're going to try to set me up a table to talk about Worldwide Knit Public Day and maybe some of the yarn and knitting things they have in the store. So eventually, they used to have it set up so you could actually teach classes in Michael's and have like a little side gig, but because of COVID and stuff, they had to take that away. And I'm kind of hoping to be able to do that in the future if that opens back up. So I'm waiting to hear from the store manager and the district manager on my booth that I'm supposed to, or my table that I'm supposed to have set up when the official grand opening starts. So I thought it would be cool if I had like bought one of their books and kind of knit some of the things out of it just to kind of show what the yarn they have in the store, to kind of get some inspiration and ideas for the knitters and crocheters. So I picked up this book. This is the Easy Knit Dishcloths. I'm just going to zoom in on that one for you. But it has all these dishcloths that are made with fingering weight yarn. Now this book retails for $12.99 in the US, $8.99 in the UK, and $16.99 in Canada. Oh, sorry, Canadian friends, that's ridiculous. But because I have a homeschool discount card, I get 20% off my purchases all the time, even if things are not on sale. So I was able to get it for 20% off. I really like the way that these are set up. They have really pretty, just basic photos, and then it goes into your dishcloth information. All of these, like I said, are made with fingering weight yarn. Most of these take 2 of these little skeins to make, which is fine. So this is Grace, and this is by Patons, and this is sold at Michael's. My Michael's only had 4 or 5 colors of this. They had this teal, they had the black, they had the, this is called natural, they had an orange color, and they had a lime green, and they had a pink. So I guess they had 6 colors of it. I only chose these 3 colors, and I got 2 of each of them to make some dishcloths, so that way they'll also kind of match my kitchen. But I'm going to make some dishcloths out of the yarn sold in the store, from one of the books sold in the store, to have on my little table. And then I also checked out, because Michael's, sorry if that's all kind of noises, and I'll link to that book in the notes so you can see what's in there. Michael's also has like a pretty good jewelry making section, and if you want to make stitch markers for your knitting and crochet, it's a great place to look, because they have these charms that actually already have little lobster claws on them. So they're pretty much a grab and go knitting or crochet accessory. So this one is a cute little camper, and it's a 3D camper. So there's the back of the camper, and there's no door on it. And there's the front of the camper, and there's a door. And it even has like this little sunshine thing that hangs down. It's part of the charm, but this is going to be a really cute knitting stitch marker. And then I saw this one. This is a little bit heavier. It's a little bubblegum machine. And like the little balls actually move around. They're not glued in. And there's the back of it without the little coin thing, and there's the front of it. Super cute. And these retail for $2.99. And then I got this one, which is a little alpaca, and it's 2-sided as well. It's just not as cool in 3D as the other ones, but you gotta get it. So those are on the jewelry making section. So if you're looking for cute stitch markers that are just grab and go and not have to make some, I mean, it's going to be where to look. And there was a lot more other ones, but I just grabbed these because they make me smile. And these are all nickel free. And if I can link to these also on their website, as well as the yarn and the book, I will do so. But like I said, usually you can't link to the books. But that's all I really have. So as far as the future, once we reach 100 followers of this channel, so make sure you share it, I will have a giveaway. And that giveaway is sponsored by Knit for Comfort. And she's the one I did the sample shawl for. And she sent this lovely strawberry bag. Choice to pick which one of these yarn colors that you want, and I'll just keep the other one. In a previous video. So if you have not voted on that, I need you to do that. And that video is on this YouTube channel, and it's called Morning Coffee with Yarning for a Smile, and I'll link that here, but I need you to vote if you would like the purple color, which is called burgundy, or if this color that's just called fire. To me, they both work well with the little knitting bag, but fire kind of looks more like the strawberries. I think I've only had one person vote on that, so make sure you vote on that. And that's all I have. So if you've lasted this long with me, thank you. I know I kind of have a tendency to ramble, apologize. I'm working on it. Thank you for checking out my channel. Thank you for spending time with me. And I really hope that you take the time to comment below and let me know what you're working on, and let me know what you liked about this video and about the content that I'm putting out and what you would like to see more of. You know, I want to bring you content that you're going to enjoy, but I don't know what you're going to enjoy unless you kind of tell me. So please do so. Please, help me build this community and interact with me so I can interact with you. And we can get to know each other. And we can have our own little knitting group via Yarniesville Slice of YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great week and happy yarning.